What is going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about EBO1, the Memorial Collection. I want to talk about EBO2, which is way down here, the Anime 25th Collection. And I also want to talk about PRB01, the Premium Booster. These are kind of the three specialty sets we've seen from Bandai in One Piece so far. PRB02 is coming later this year, but because it's not out yet, we're not really going to include it in this discussion. But these boxes have been performing fairly well over the past month, and I just want to talk about why that's happening, take a look at some of the cards, and just have a general discussion about these specialty sets in One Piece. But before we get to those, I did want to touch on Romance Dawn, the blue bottoms. I've actually moved the tracking of One Piece booster box in the spreadsheet to once a month. I was doing it every week, but the reality is it's not like Pokemon. Not enough of these sell over a week for me to think that it's worth doing. So we're going to be doing it once a month, but I did want to keep up with the blue bottoms just because these have continued to move. You can see last week, I think these were around $315. We're now sitting around $340, so fairly significant move. That's only based on a couple sales on TCG Player though, so don't read too much into it. But most recent sales you can see here, going back to July 6th, 1400, 1400, 1400, a 1600 sale yesterday, and another one at 1400 today. So for all intents and purposes, I think this is a $1,400 booster box at this point. There might be like one or two listings in North America on eBay below that. I was actually trying to buy a box the past week, a blue bottom. I've really wanted one for a long time. I just couldn't agree with people on price. People were asking way over market, and on Facebook too. I mean, if I need to pay market, I may as well just buy something on eBay at that point to have buyer protections. But I had a store owner, a connection that I've done a lot of business with in the past. They've purchased a lot off me. They apparently just bought a collection of One Piece booster boxes, one of basically everything up to OP10 and then EBO2. So I'm trying to buy that collection, and it will have a blue bottom in it. If that deal goes through, I'll let you guys know. I'm very excited to get a blue bottom. I think it's probably one of the best investments in One Piece right now. But that's really all I wanted to touch on about Romance Dawn, is just that the blue bottoms are continuing to move up. That's great, but I wanted to keep the focus mainly on the specialty sets in this video. And EBO1, I guess we start here. I am really happy that the prediction I made a few months ago is coming true. If you guys don't remember, you haven't been here a while, back in maybe like January or February, I had some people comment on a few of my videos saying that once reprints come on a lot of the cards in EBO1, for example, the Bon Clay, Shirahoshi, Cavendish, once a lot of these cards get reprinted, the booster box EBO1 is going to crash. And at the time, I said that that was a very unlikely possibility. That's not really how TCGs work. And you can see, based on the booster box price, it's still around $320. Most recent sales are in that range all day, every day. And we've actually seen an increase, I think, in sales over the past couple weeks since the announcement of these reprints. And to me, this isn't surprising, but to people that are newer to TCGs and investing in this type of hobby, it might be surprising just to look at a box and go, well, a lot of the cards inside this box are crashing, so why is the booster box not crashing? The reality is the box itself is a collectible. EBO1 in general was already a fairly scarce box, and that alone played a certain level in its box price just because it was a little bit harder to find. But because the price hasn't come down, that should show you that people value this as a sealed item, not just for the cards inside of it. You know, people in One Piece, and this is a huge, maybe like myth or mistake I see in this hobby more so than in like Pokemon or other hobbies. And maybe that's just because it's a newer game. A lot of people in this haven't been around other TCGs. I really don't know the reasoning for it, but it's something I see in One Piece where people think that a booster box and investing in booster boxes comes down to like the value you can get out of the box. Like there's a couple YouTubers that kind of look at like the worst box you could get, right? Like they're breaking it down based on how many alt arts are in the box and, you know, the ratios between the worst and the best one. Like, guys, if you're investing in sealed product, okay, you are investing for the long run. You're saying that by buying this box, I believe there is going to be a collectible side of the hobby. Because if you're only buying it for the TCG, you would not be putting money in OPO1 to OPO4 right now. You're basically saying that once a set goes out of rotation, it's going to be cooked, it's going to be like old magic and not really move in price. But if you're buying these boxes thinking they're going to go up, you're believing that people are going to want to chase the mangas and the top hits in them. in the long run. So to sum all this up, don't be afraid of cards getting reprinted. Your box price is not going to crash more than likely. Again, like maybe it comes back a tiny bit, but the reality is the box price, especially for EBO1 at $300, $320 before the reprints were announced, that was caked in just because of the scarcity of the box and also having a decent chase card in the chopper. And for most people, that should be logical and make sense. But if it still doesn't make sense to you, I ask you, what is the expected EV of opening a booster box of EBO1? On average, if you open, say, 1,000 boxes or 10,000 boxes, how much money are you going to get out on average out of every single box? And I can tell you that with 99.9% certainty, even though I haven't done the math, it's going to be way less than $320 USD. Now moving on, we'll look at PRBO1 a little bit. This box was down to around, I think, $255-ish there in early July, which was kind of surprising me because if we look at like the 6-month chart, back in maybe like May, mid-May, it was $290. We saw it come back down to around $255. Part of this was definitely some people taking profit. If we look at like the 1-year chart, you can see back here in maybe mid-October, early November, you could have been buying this box for around $120, $130. It ran up to $290. It makes sense at that point that in a 6-month period, a box doubles, you're going to see people start to take profits. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. And now I think some of that supply has been chewed through. And at least on TCG Player, we're seeing this box start to run back up to around $290 again. And I've said this multiple times before on the channel, but I'll say it again in this video. Bandai has not shown us that they're willing to reprint their specialty sets. EBO1, we haven't seen a large reprint or restock of it. PRBO1, same deal. EBO2, we haven't seen yet. Who knows what's going to happen there. But with them not reprinting EBO1 and PRBO1 yet, I feel very confident putting money in EBO2 into PRBO2 as it's coming up here. So if you haven't pre-ordered any, I do recommend buying some PRBO2 because I wouldn't be surprised if it does something similar to what PRBO1 has done. But to stay on that note, if Bandai doesn't reprint PRBO1, I would not be surprised if this is one of the most expensive booster boxes 3 to 5 years from now in One Piece. I mean, when you look at this set, sure, a lot of these mangas are reprints like the Luffy, the Zoro, the Chopper, the Ace, but you do have the Nami manga, which is new, even though it's a reprint card. I think that was from OPO1. But you also have the Golden Dawns in here, which are very interesting. You can see now the Zoro Golden Dawn is $400. It's actually more expensive than the Law reprint, the Sabo reprint, the Kid reprint, even the Sogeking reprint. So some of these Golden Dawns are very expensive. They're difficult to pull. Also, you have the God Packs in PRBO1 that have all the manga cards. There's so many things that are going to attract people, and especially the big collectors, the people that want to chase the mangas, to opening PRBO1 in the future. And when we compare EBO2 to EBO1, I really do believe that EBO2 is the better set, and I think it's going to do well long term. The box is already back up to $180 on TCG Player. Again, you can probably get it cheaper on Facebook, eBay, whatever, other parts of the world, but on TCG Player, already back to $180. I would not be surprised if this is over $200 by the end of the year, maybe even earlier than that. We've seen basically every week the supply on eBay has come down. And I mean, it makes sense. If we compare this to EBO1 and we go card for card, when we look at the mangas, the Gear 2 Luffy is $1,100. In EBO1, the Chopper, it's still a great card. It's actually still one of the most expensive mangas, $800, but I would have to go with the Luffy card. And then a lot of the top cards in EBO1 are playable alt arts like the Cavendish, like the Laboon, the Chopper card. I do still think that the Bond Clay, him as Nami, will be a decently expensive card in the future because people who collect Nami cards are still going to collect this card. I don't care if it's Bond Clay and not actually Nami. People will want it. But outside that, like, I don't think there's anything crazy in this. Whereas when you look at EBO2, you have a Boa Hancock, you have a Luffy alt. The Vegapunk is an errata card, so just for that reason alone, that is going to be a card people want to chase and have in the future. You also have more popular characters. You have Yamato, Reiju, Bonnie, Eneru's in there. You have another Luffy card, Rob Lucci. Some of these aren't super popular, and I understand that they have value because they're very difficult to pull, but that's fine. Not every single character has to be super popular. Even if these cards are expensive, people will want to open the product. I mean, the whole first page, you have 24 cards over $100, and I think on the second page, You might have one or two in like the 90, 70-ish range, somewhere around there. So yeah, you can see the Luffy alt art on the second page, 88 bucks. You have Foxy at 91 bucks. You have Dragon at 80. So lots of very expensive cards in EBO2, and even my favorite card, the Tsunami. I really do like this alt art. Outside the Gear 2 Luffy, this is probably my second favorite card in the set. This is still 50 bucks. So very, very deep is EBO2. If you guys don't have exposure to these sets and you're thinking about getting exposure, I would still recommend EBO2 to most people. I would still recommend PRBO1 to most people, even at like close to $300 a booster box. I would try and find a deal. Like if you get it closer to 250, 260 USD, that's probably better than paying TCG player price, just because normally TCG player is a little bit more expensive than the overall open market. But I would recommend both those boxes and getting those before you even consider EBO1. If you have a very large position in One Piece or you're planning to build one, I think it's okay to get a little bit of EBO1 just because the box, I think in the future will be very scarce, especially if we never get a reprint of it. But I think when you just go card for card in EBO1 and you compare that to something like PRBO1 with all the reprint mangas, the Gold Dawns, EBO2 with the Luffy card up top, and then all those leaders, I think EBO1's probably just third on the totem pole. But as always, you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Do you own any of these boxes? Are you looking to add more to your collection or investment portfolio? And then also just keep an eye on Blue Bottoms. I really hope I can get one of these one day. I've been trying so hard to line up a deal that makes sense for me and everyone involved, so hopefully I can get that done one day. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you did get some value out of this, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. It helps out a ton. Also, if you're shopping on eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, I have affiliate links in the description as always. They're free and easy to use. I get a small kickback, so it's a great way to support me, continue to make free videos for you guys. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one.